Hey there, and welcome to Boys Love Story, where we bring you touching BL school romances that will warm your heart and stir your emotions. Each episode on this channel is a unique journey of love. Whether it's sweet, slow burn, dramatic, or healing, our stories are crafted to make you feel seen and comforted. Today's story falls into the school BL genre and is all about young love, emotional growth, and moments that make your heart flutter. Title: The Photography Club and That Smile. Genre: school life, slow burn romance, secrets, jealousy, drama. Happy ending. So grab your headphones, get cozy, and let your imagination drift into a world where boys fall in love, quietly, boldly, and beautifully. Shin hated noisy places. Ever since middle school, he had preferred the quiet corners of the world, the back of the library, the empty music room after hours, the rooftop when no one else was around. So when he entered his new high school, his only goal was to find a club where he could disappear. Somewhere no one would ask too many questions. Somewhere quiet. That's how he found the photography club. It wasn't popular. Just 5 members, including the club president, who barely showed up anymore. But that was perfect. Shin didn't want to be noticed. He just wanted something to fill his afternoons so teachers wouldn't pester him to join the more social activities. He wasn't particularly good at photography. Not yet, anyway. But he liked the idea of capturing something no one else saw. A moment frozen in time, silent and still, just like he preferred his world to be. That was until he saw that smile. It was during one of their weekly photo assignments. The club had been tasked with capturing candid moments of other school clubs in action. Shin had no interest in team sports or energetic cheer squads, so he picked the drama club, figuring it'd be indoors, quiet, and easy to work around. He stood at the edge of the rehearsal room, barely noticeable in his all-black uniform, camera in hand. The drama students were too busy practicing a scene to pay attention to him. That suited him just fine. Through the lens, he zoomed in on one of the main actors, tall, graceful, and with a face that looked like it belonged on a magazine cover. That was Akira. Shin had seen him around school before. Akira was a third year like him, popular, charismatic, always surrounded by people. The kind of student teachers praised and girls whispered about in the hallways. The kind of guy Shin avoided. But in that moment, something shifted. While the others were talking or laughing, Akira stood off to the side. His expression softened. No longer the confident performer or admired upperclassman. Just a boy lost in thought. Then, for the briefest second, a faint smile appeared on his lips. Gentle. Sad. Like he was remembering something he wasn't supposed to. Click. Shin snapped the photo on instinct. He didn't know why. But when he looked at the image on his screen, his heart skipped. It was different from every other picture he'd taken. It wasn't posed. It wasn't bright or cheerful. But it was real. That night, he stayed up late editing the photo. He adjusted the contrast, softened the edges, and zoomed in on Akira's eyes. They were distant, but not empty. There was something hidden behind them. The next day, Shin printed the photo and added it to his submission for the club board. Each member had to submit a highlight shot for monthly display. He doubted anyone would notice it, but he couldn't help choosing that one. To his surprise, it caused a reaction. "Hey, who took this?" one of the younger club members asked the following afternoon, staring at the display board. "Is that Akira-senpai from the drama club?" Shin stayed silent. "He looks different. Kinda sad?" "It's cool though. Feels real." He didn't reply. Just walked past them, hiding the warmth creeping up his neck. Later that week, Shin returned to the drama club room for another candid session. It wasn't assigned, but he told himself he needed practice. Truthfully, he just wanted to see if he could catch another moment like that. Akira was there, laughing with his friends. But the smile from before wasn't there. His posture was perfect, gestures exaggerated for the stage. He was acting, even off stage. Shin kept his distance. He raised his camera, adjusted the focus, and waited. And then, Akira looked straight at him. Their eyes met through the lens. Shin froze. The camera shook slightly in his hand. Akira's gaze wasn't sharp or accusatory. Just curious. But it was enough to make Shin panic. He lowered the camera and turned away, pretending to adjust his settings. The next moment, footsteps approached. "Hey!" came a voice, smooth, casual. "You're the guy from the photography club, right?" Shin glanced up. Akira stood beside him, wiping sweat from his brow with a towel. "Why, yeah," Shin muttered, gripping his camera tighter. "I saw the photo on the club board," Akira said, tilting his head. "You took that?" Shin nodded, not meeting his eyes. There was a pause. "You caught me off guard," Akira said, his voice softer now. "I didn't even know someone was taking pictures." "I didn't mean to," Shin replied quickly. "It just happened." Another pause. "I liked it." Shin blinked. "It was honest," Akira continued. "Most pictures of me are, for the school paper or fan club stuff. Always smiling, always perfect. That one felt real." Shin dared to look up. Akira's expression was unreadable, but his voice carried a note of sincerity. "I hope you'll take more," he said, offering a small smile, different from the one on stage. Less polished, more human. Shin nodded again, unsure of what to say. As Akira turned to leave, he added, "Next time, try not to run away, okay?" From that day on, things changed. Shin started frequenting the drama club more often, under the excuse of documenting their performances. Akira always noticed him now. Sometimes he'd wave. Other times he'd flash a grin mid-rehearsal, like daring Shin to catch it. And Shin did. His camera roll began to fill with images of Akira, not the actor, not the star student, but the boy behind the curtain. The one who looked tired after long rehearsals. The one who laughed with his mouth wide open when no one was watching. The one who sometimes stared out the window, as if remembering something far away. It became an obsession Shin didn't fully understand. Why did it matter so much? Why did he care about capturing those private moments? Why did Akira's smile stay in his head long after the day ended? He didn't know yet. But he knew one thing. That strange, fleeting smile, the first one, had changed everything. Shin didn't expect to get locked in. The prop room smelled like dust, old paint, and a hint of artificial roses from the leftover stage decorations. He'd gone in to return a tripod he borrowed from the club's equipment shelf, only to realize, too late, that someone had closed the door behind him. The rusted lock clicked with a solid thunk that echoed a little too ominously in the silence. "Seriously?" he muttered, trying the knob. It didn't budge. "Locked?" a voice asked behind him. Shin flinched and turned. Akira stood a few feet away, arms crossed, a faint frown forming on his face. "You're here too?" Shin asked, blinking. "I came to grab my practice sword for the next rehearsal," Akira explained, gesturing to a long cardboard box leaning against the wall. "Guess we're both stuck now." Shin pressed his ear against the door, knocking twice. No answer. "Maybe someone will pass by," he offered, though it sounded more hopeful than realistic. Akira let out a sigh and sat on a stack of old cushions. "Let's hope it's not the janitor. Last time, he didn't check this room until after sunset." Shin remained standing, camera bag still over his shoulder. He wasn't sure what to say, or even what to do in a situation like this. Awkward silence settled between them like fog. After a few moments, Akira leaned back and stared at the ceiling. "Do you ever get tired of pretending?" he asked quietly. Shin turned toward him, eyebrows raised. Akira didn't look at him. His eyes were fixed somewhere far beyond the cracks of the paint above. "I mean," he continued, "pretending to be fine, to be happy, to smile like everything's okay, even when it's not." There was something raw in his voice. Nothing like the usual smooth tone Shin had come to associate with Akira's stage presence. "I have to be perfect out there," Akira said, gesturing vaguely toward the theater. "The lead in the upcoming play, the top student, the nice senior everyone admires. But sometimes I wake up and I don't even want to talk to anyone, let alone smile." Shin hesitated. Then he quietly opened his camera case and lifted the lens to his eye. Click! Akira blinked at the sudden sound. "Did you just?" "Yeah," Shin said, lowering the camera. "That expression? You aren't pretending." Akira looked confused for a second. Then, a small, weary smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "You really don't care about the polished version of me, do you?" Shin shook his head slowly. "The version without the mask is more interesting." There was silence again, but this time it was different. No longer heavy or tense. Just comfortable. Akira exhaled and leaned forward, resting his arms on his knees. "Takes a lot of energy to smile when you don't feel like it." Shin sat down across from him and studied him. But even that smile, it was beautiful. Akira looked up. "I mean it," Shin said. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. For a moment, Akira seemed speechless. Then he looked away, a faint blush touching his ears. "You're a strange guy, Shin." "So I've been told." They both chuckled, the laughter easing the walls between them. After about half an hour, someone finally unlocked the door. A janitor, annoyed but understanding, grumbled something about checking locks next time and left them alone. But as they stepped into the hallway again, light spilling across the floor in golden rays of late afternoon sun, something had shifted between them. From that day forward, Shin and Akira began spending more time together. Not just in the drama room or at club meetings, but after school, in quiet hallways, or at the vending machines behind the gym. Sometimes Shin would show Akira his photos, and Akira would tease him about taking so many candid shots of just him. Other times, Akira would ask Shin about photography settings, feigning interest in ISO and shutter speed, though Shin was sure he didn't care about the technical details. They weren't quite friends yet, but they were no longer strangers orbiting the same school. Still, not everyone was happy about it. Riku, another member of the photography club, started to notice the shift. He was loud, confident, and often acted like he was the club's unofficial leader since the president was so absent. He'd had a mild crush on Akira since last year, though it was something unspoken, unconfirmed, until now. One afternoon, as Shin entered the clubroom with Akira behind him, Riku's eyes narrowed. "Another photo shoot with the drama prince?" he asked, tone coated in sarcasm. Akira offered a polite nod. "Just stopping by." Riku looked at Shin. "Funny. You used to avoid people. Now you're suddenly his personal photographer?" Shin didn't reply. He wasn't good at confrontations. But Akira, to Shin's surprise, stepped in. "He's just good at what he does," he said simply. "He sees things others miss." Riku scoffed. "Or maybe he just knows how to get attention." Shin's fingers tightened around his camera strap. Akira's expression cooled. If you have something to say, Riku, say it clearly. Riku didn't. He turned back to his computer and muttered under his breath. Shin didn't say anything until they were walking back to the hallway. Sorry, Akira said, voice low. Don't be, Shin replied. He's always like that. Akira looked at him for a moment. You okay? Shin gave a small nod. I'm used to being misunderstood. Akira's lips curved into a smile, not the distant one, or the practiced one, but the kind that made Shin's heart skip for reasons he didn't want to analyze yet. Then maybe it's time someone understood you. It started with a single post. An image uploaded to the school's anonymous gossip forum. The photo showed Shin and Akira in the clubroom after hours, Shin leaning slightly toward Akira, one hand on the table, his face close, as if whispering something. Akira was looking up at him, a faint smile on his lips. Cropped just right. Dim lighting. Blurry background. It looked intimate. The caption read, Drama Club's Prince and the Loner Photographer, After School Rendezvous? Within hours, the rumor spread like wildfire. Screenshots flooded private chats. Whispers followed them through hallways. By the time Shin entered school the next morning, eyes were already following him. He tried to ignore it, focusing on the rhythm of his footsteps, the familiar creak of his locker. But as soon as he opened it, a folded paper fell out. Stay behind the lens where you belong. His fingers curled around the note. No name. No handwriting he recognized. Just black ink on white. When he reached the clubroom, it was worse. Silence fell as he walked in. No greetings. No jokes. Just Riku, already seated, looking up at him with a perfectly neutral expression. You made it, Riku said, tilting his head. Didn't think you'd show after everything. Shin dropped his bag on the table. You've seen the photo? Everyone has. Riku shrugged. Honestly, I'm surprised. You and Akira, huh? There's nothing going on. Of course not, Riku said, smiling thinly. But you know how people are. Shin glanced around. No one else made eye contact. Where did that picture come from? Shin asked quietly. Riku leaned back in his chair. Some say Mayu posted it. But who knows? Maybe someone passed it to her. Or maybe she took it herself. People like a little drama. There was something off in the way Riku said it. Too casual. Too rehearsed. Shin opened his mouth to ask more, but the club's teacher advisor stepped in. Her expression was stern. Shin, she said, voice clipped. I need to speak with you privately. In the hallway, she folded her arms. Given the recent incident, the school has received complaints from a few parents. Until things are clarified, I'm placing you under temporary suspension from club activities. Shin stared at her. For what? It's not a punishment, she said quickly. It's just damage control. Until the rumors die down. But it's a lie. I understand that, she said, softening. But perception matters. And the club has its reputation. The words hit him like a slap. He returned home that day with a weight in his chest, unsure whether it was anger or helplessness. Meanwhile, Akira was dealing with his own fallout. He'd been pulled aside by the drama club coach, then by a teacher, then by a group of classmates who'd clearly been concerned. I just want to know. One girl asked him during rehearsal, Is it true? Akira looked up from his script, eyes calm but tired. Is what true? You and the photographer guy. After hours. That photo. It was edited. Akira cut in, voice cool. Someone wanted to stir the pot. The girl hesitated. But why would someone go that far? Akira's gaze shifted slightly. He knew exactly why. After practice, he sat alone in the dressing room, staring at his phone. He scrolled to the image again. Cropped, low-res, carefully angled. Whoever made it knew what they were doing. He thought of Riku. Of the subtle glares. Of how Riku always stayed late, pretending to finish editing. Of how he always tried to be helpful, just a bit too helpful. And Mayu, known for chasing attention online, would have posted anything juicy if it meant a few more followers. He clenched his jaw. Days passed. Shin and Akira didn't speak. Not because they didn't want to, but because something fragile had cracked between them. Whenever Shin saw Akira in the hallway, he looked away too quickly. Whenever Akira caught a glimpse of Shin near the school garden, his feet stopped, but he never called out. It wasn't anger. It was confusion, hesitation, fear that maybe the other no longer wanted to meet halfway. Until one late afternoon, Shin found a photo in his locker. A print. One he hadn't taken. It was the same photo from the rumor, but the uncropped version. In it, Shin was clearly adjusting his camera settings while talking to Akira. The angle made it look like something more, but the full context made everything obvious. On the back of the photo was one handwritten line. The truth is always in the full frame. It happened quietly. A message left open on a school computer. A conversation thread between Riku and Mayu. Shin hadn't meant to see it. He was only grabbing his forgotten flash drive from the clubroom. But when he glanced at the screen, curiosity got the better of him. Riku. Crop it tighter. It looks more intimate that way. Mayu. You sure? People will get the wrong idea. Riku. That's the point. Shin froze. It wasn't just a baseless rumor. It was a setup. Deliberate. Manipulated. Controlled. By someone he trusted. Riku, his clubmate. Someone who used to tease him lightly during meetings. Offer editing tips. Smile during field trips. Someone who had been standing beside him this whole time, watching it all unfold. The betrayal stung deeper than he expected. Shin didn't confront him. Not yet. Instead, he took a deep breath, saved the conversation screenshots, and walked out of the room. That night, he couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, looking through his camera roll. Hundreds of pictures, some raw, some polished. Most of them were landscapes, school activities, festivals, or practice shots. But sprinkled throughout were unposed, quiet photos of Akira. Akira stretching between rehearsals. Akira sipping water in the hallway. Akira yawning, his expression relaxed and unaware. And one photo stood out. Akira, backstage after a long practice. His head down, sweat still clinging to his hair, stage lights casting soft shadows over his features. He looked exhausted and real. No smile. No mask. Just him. Shin stared at it for a long time. Maybe he'd never needed the perfect angle. Maybe what made a photo beautiful wasn't symmetry, but sincerity. And suddenly, he knew what he needed to do. When Shin proposed the idea to the photography club teacher, she raised an eyebrow. You want to change your end-of-term exhibit theme? She asked. Yes, Shin said calmly. From nature and seasons to unscripted. She paused. That's a big shift, especially this close to the showcase. Are you sure? He nodded. I already have the photos. She glanced at the proposal he'd typed. Her expression softened. Very well, she said. But make sure you're prepared for reactions. These photos are personal. I know, Shin replied. But it's time. The day of the photo exhibition arrived. Posters lined the school halls. Photography Club Showcase, Unscripted by Shin Kazuki. Most students wondered in out of curiosity, expecting pictures of cityscapes or scenic views. But instead, they were met with something much more intimate. A photo of Akira standing alone in the drama room, holding a script, his brows furrowed in focus. Another, Akira seated on the rooftop, wind catching his hair, lost in thought. A third, him wiping off makeup backstage, half his face still painted, half raw. Eyes tired but alive. Whispers rippled through the gallery space. "Isn't that the lead actor from the drama club? These photos feel different. They're kind of beautiful." The final picture was displayed in the center. Akira, mid-laugh during a rare candid moment, eyes closed, shoulders relaxed. No mask. No performance. Just pure, unfiltered joy. Underneath the photo, a single quote was printed. "Even the imperfect moments are worth capturing." Riku showed up late. He stood at the edge of the room, arms crossed, face unreadable. When he saw the final picture, his lips pressed into a thin line. He didn't say a word to Shin, just turned and walked out. Akira appeared only after the crowd had begun to thin. He moved slowly through the gallery, eyes scanning each image as if searching for something. When he reached the final photo, he stopped. "You really used them all," he said softly. Shin stood nearby, quiet but steady. "They were always about you." Akira turned to him, his eyes glinting under the fluorescent lights. "And you weren't afraid of what people would say?" Shin exhaled. "I was. But then I realized, I don't want to hide behind the lens anymore. Not if it means hiding you." There was a pause. Then Akira stepped closer. His voice dropped to a whisper. "If you can see something beautiful in someone like me, then maybe I can start believing there's something beautiful in you too." The silence between them felt sacred. Shin offered his hand. Akira hesitated, just for a second, and then took it. Warm, solid, real. And this time, they didn't let go when a group of classmates walked by. Didn't flinch when someone gasped quietly. Didn't move apart when eyes turned toward them. Because the moment wasn't about secrecy anymore. It was about truth. And love, as imperfect as it was, had finally found its frame. The cherry blossoms bloomed earlier than usual. Petals danced in the breeze like confetti, clinging to blazers and shoes as students shuffled into the school auditorium. Graduation day. A day of endings and new beginnings. Shin stood in the corner of the photography clubroom, adjusting his tie in the cracked mirror above the supply shelf. The familiar scent of developing solution still lingered, even though the darkroom had been empty for weeks. The club was silent, but it didn't feel lonely. Not anymore. This was the last day Akira would walk these halls. The last time they'd be high school students together. Akira was already halfway out the door, having passed the entrance exam to a prestigious art academy. Everyone expected greatness from him. He was brilliant, composed, unforgettable. But Shin knew the truth. The Akira he saw wasn't the one who stood on stage, bowing with perfection. The Akira he knew was someone who cried backstage, smiled when no one was looking, and laughed like he was trying to make up for lost time. And now, that Akira was leaving. Shin exhaled, grabbed his camera bag, though he didn't plan on using it, and made his way to the auditorium. The graduation ceremony passed in a blur of speeches, applause, and polite laughter. Parents dabbed at their eyes. Students shifted nervously in their chairs, whispering behind programs. Names were called, diplomas handed out, and futures promised. Then, unexpectedly, the principal paused. "We have one more message," she said, smiling. "A student requested to speak. Akira Sato, please come forward." Shin's heart skipped. Akira walked up to the podium, not in his usual drama club elegance, but simply quietly. His hand shook slightly as he adjusted the mic. His eyes scanned the crowd until they landed briefly on Shin. Then he began. I used to believe smiles were just part of the role. Something you wore like a costume. Something you practiced until it looked real enough. He paused, breathing slowly. But there was a time when I forgot what my real smile looked like. I lost it. And I wasn't sure I'd ever find it again. He looked down at his notes, then set them aside. What brought it back wasn't applause or spotlights. It wasn't recognition or success. It was someone. Someone who stood in the background, quietly, never asking for anything. Someone who saw me, even when I didn't want to be seen. The room was silent. Akira's voice softened. Thank you to the person who helped me find my way back. To the one who reminded me that the most beautiful moments don't need to be posed. He bowed, long, sincere, then stepped off the stage. Shin's hands clenched in his lap, his chest tight. After the ceremony, the campus buzzed with cameras and laughter, last-minute selfies and teary goodbyes. Shin wandered through it all, half-drifting, until he reached the school rooftop one final time. The sky was soft blue, streaked with faint clouds. The cherry trees below looked like cotton candy from above. And there, already waiting, was Akira. He leaned against the railing, blazer off, tie loose, the spring wind tousling his hair. I figured you'd come, Akira said without turning. Shin smiled, stepping forward. This place is hard to say goodbye to. Yeah, Akira murmured. But it gave us something to remember. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The city buzzed far below, but up here time slowed. Akira turned to face him. You didn't bring your camera? Shin shook his head. Didn't need it today. Akira raised an eyebrow, amused. That's a first. Shin stepped closer. There's a photo I've never been able to take. I tried so many times. During practice. After class. In the rain, on rooftops, backstage. I kept waiting for the perfect moment. He met Akira's eyes. But I realized today, the most beautiful photo I'll ever see is the one I didn't get to take. Akira blinked. What do you mean? Shin smiled gently. It's you. Right now. Smiling, not for a role. Not for anyone else. Just being you. Akira stared at him, lips parted. Then he laughed. Not the practiced laugh from the stage. Not the nervous chuckle he used to cover up. But a real clear, radiant laugh that lit up his whole face. That, Shin whispered. That's the shot I'll remember for the rest of my life. Akira stepped forward, eyes shimmering. Then maybe it's okay we didn't capture it. We did, Shin replied softly. Just not with a camera. They stood face to face, no lens between them, no rumors behind them, no need to hide anymore. Akira reached for Shin's hand and held it tightly. You're going to do amazing things here, he said. As club president. As a photographer. As you. Shin squeezed back. And you're going to paint your heart out at that academy. I know it. They didn't kiss. They didn't need to. They simply smiled together. Real, free, unafraid. And the rooftop, once a quiet place of hiding, became something else entirely. It became a beginning. Thank you so much for spending time with Boys Love Story today. We hope this episode touched your heart, made you smile, or even gave you a moment to escape into something beautiful. If you enjoyed the story, we'd love for you to support us by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with other BL lovers out there. Your support means the world and helps us create more stories filled with love, hope, and healing. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new chapter. Until next time, stay safe, stay kind, and stay in love.